Every Monday morning, the executive conference room on the 32nd floor became the place Ethan Carter dreaded most. It wasn't because the meetings were difficult or because the projects were impossible. It was because of one person, CEO Victoria Hayes. Brilliant, fearless, and known throughout the industry as the Iron CEO, Victoria had a reputation for demanding perfection from everyone around her. Yet for reasons Ethan could never understand, she seemed to reserve her harshest criticism for him. Every presentation he gave was interrupted. Every suggestion he made was questioned. Every mistake, no matter how small, became a lesson in front of the entire executive team. "Did you even read the numbers before walking in here?" she would ask coldly. "I expect better from someone in your position." The room would fall silent while Ethan swallowed his pride and quietly apologized. His coworkers pitied him, but no one dared defend him. Challenging Victoria Hayes was career suicide. Week after week, month after month, Ethan endured the embarrassment. Friends urged him to resign, but he couldn't. His late father had worked 3 jobs so Ethan could earn his engineering degree, and his widowed mother depended on his salary while recovering from illness. Walking away wasn't an option. Instead, he stayed late every night, worked weekends, and tried even harder, hoping that one day the CEO would finally recognize his effort. But recognition never came. The criticism only grew sharper. Rumors spread through the company that Victoria simply hated him. Some employees even avoided eating lunch with Ethan because they feared being associated with the CEO's favorite target. Despite everything, Ethan never spoke badly about her. Deep down, he believed there had to be a reason for her behavior, even if he couldn't imagine what it was. One rainy Thursday evening, after another brutal meeting where Victoria dismissed his carefully researched proposal in less than 2 minutes, Ethan returned to his tiny apartment exhausted. The building was old, the elevator barely worked, and the paint peeled from the walls, but it was affordable. He heated leftover soup, changed into a worn sweatshirt, and sat quietly by the window watching the rain fall. Subscribe to my channel. Then, at exactly 10:47 p.m., someone knocked on his door. Assuming it was a neighbor, Ethan opened it without hesitation. Standing there, completely soaked from the rain, was Victoria Hayes. Her expensive coat was drenched, her hair clung to her face, and for the first time since he'd known her, she looked frightened. Ethan stood frozen. "Ms. Hayes," he whispered. She looked past him before speaking softly. "May I come inside, please? I don't have anywhere else to go tonight." Shocked beyond words, Ethan stepped aside. Victoria entered the small apartment and looked around at the modest furniture, the stack of engineering books, and a framed photograph of Ethan with his parents. She seemed uncomfortable, almost guilty. Ethan offered her a towel and a cup of tea. She accepted both with a quiet "thank you," 2 words he had never imagined hearing from her. Several minutes passed in silence before Ethan finally asked the question burning in his mind. "Why are you here?" Victoria stared into her tea before answering. "Because someone is trying to destroy my company, and I don't know who I can trust anymore." Ethan frowned. She explained that confidential company information had been leaking to competitors for months. Multi-million-dollar contracts were disappearing at the last minute. Internal investigations revealed nothing because the traitor was someone with high-level access. Earlier that evening, she had discovered evidence suggesting the person responsible also planned to frame her for financial fraud. Worse still, security footage had mysteriously vanished. "Everyone I trusted may already be working against me," she admitted. "Everyone except one person." Ethan looked confused. Me. Victoria nodded slowly. You. He almost laughed. You've humiliated me in every meeting for over a year. Victoria lowered her eyes. I know. Then why would you trust me? A painful silence filled the room. Finally, she reached into her handbag and removed a thick folder. Inside were dozens of reports, emails, and handwritten notes. Every successful project Ethan had completed was carefully documented. Promotions she had recommended for him, but never finalized, were clipped together. Positive evaluations filled page after page. Ethan couldn't believe what he was seeing. What is all this? He asked. Victoria took a deep breath. Because someone inside the company has been watching me for over a year. I realized early that anyone I openly trusted became a target. One executive who supported me publicly lost his position after false accusations. Another resigned after threats against his family. When I noticed your honesty and integrity, I made the hardest decision of my career. I treated you harshly in public so no one would suspect I considered you the most trustworthy person in the company. Ethan stared at her in disbelief. You protected me, by making everyone think you hated me. Tears formed in Victoria's eyes. It was cruel. I know that, and every meeting felt like I was betraying someone who had done nothing wrong. But if they believed you were my enemy, they would never imagine I planned to place the company's future in your hands. Ethan didn't know whether to feel angry or relieved. The pain of the past year couldn't disappear in a moment. Yet looking at Victoria now, tired, frightened, and carrying the weight of thousands of employees, he realized she had sacrificed her own humanity to protect what she believed was right. Before either of them could speak again, Victoria's phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen, and her face turned pale. They know where I am. At that exact moment, footsteps echoed outside the apartment. Someone tried the doorknob. Ethan quietly turned off the lights. The hallway fell silent. Then came another knock, harder this time. Neither of them moved. Minutes passed before the footsteps finally disappeared. Victoria exhaled shakily. Ethan immediately grabbed his laptop. If someone wants to frame you, he said calmly, they'll need access to the financial servers. I designed part of that system 2 years ago. There may still be hidden backup logs nobody knows about. For the next 6 hours they worked side by side in the tiny apartment. Shortly before sunrise, Ethan discovered encrypted records proving that the company's chief financial officer had secretly transferred confidential files to a rival corporation while manipulating internal accounts to blame Victoria. The hidden logs recorded every unauthorized login. It was undeniable evidence. Victoria immediately contacted federal investigators and the company's independent board. By noon, the CFO and 2 senior executives were arrested. The news spread across every business channel in the country. Investors who had planned to abandon the company reversed their decisions overnight. Thousands of employees kept their jobs because the conspiracy had been exposed before the company collapsed. 2 weeks later, another Monday meeting began in the same executive conference room. Employees expected another public humiliation. Instead, Victoria walked to the front, looked directly at Ethan, and said, "Before we begin, I owe someone an apology." The room became completely silent. For over a year, I allowed an innocent man to carry embarrassment that should never have been his burden. Ethan Carter showed integrity when it would have been easier to quit. He chose loyalty over resentment and courage over comfort. Because of him, this company still exists. She then handed him a new nameplate reading Chief Operating Officer. The room erupted into applause. Many employees stood to their feet. Ethan accepted the promotion, but before sitting down, he smiled gently and said, leadership isn't about never making mistakes. It's about having the courage to admit them and the determination to make things right. Victoria nodded with grateful tears in her eyes. From that day forward, the meetings changed completely. They challenged ideas instead of people. Employees no longer feared speaking honestly. The company became stronger than ever, not because it had survived betrayal, but because trust had finally replaced fear. Years later, when young managers asked Ethan about the secret to great leadership, he never spoke about promotions or profits. Instead, he remembered the rainy night when the woman who had seemed like his greatest enemy knocked quietly on his door, asking for help, and how one unexpected act of compassion transformed two lives and saved an entire company forever.